on Madden, Veracruz, Mexico, the Boca del Rio neighborhood, south of downtown Veracruz. And I'm sitting under a big tree, under another big tree. My windshield is kind of taking gas from the burbs today. It's a beautiful day, late afternoon sun. I work at the Coppel store over there. That's where I load my videos. I usually get going around this time of the day back to the beach, but I realized that although it's real calm where I'm nestled here against this building, it's actually quite a windy day and liable to be a very unpleasant day to be parked along the beach. So I'm just going to stay here. It's really quiet. I'm not in front of any store. Nobody's hassling me. I bet it'll be plenty quiet at night. I've had the topic of grieving on my mind a lot. Since I woke up on June 26th of 19, I'm honestly never sad. Really, after 30 years of being diagnosed wrongly as clinically depressed and then bipolar, which was a wretched time for me and was kind of enforced by the shame of carrying a psychiatric diagnosis and the soul-killing drugs they had me take. But I got released from jail 4.5 years ago, and I'm happy. But it doesn't stop me from grieving. There's lots to grieve about in the world. Racism, the state of the United States democracy, sexism, the environment. It doesn't end. And then I've got my own personal stuff. I've got a son who won't talk to me. I grieve about that. I had a very beloved dog who disappeared under such tormented conditions that for weeks I wouldn't even tell the story, and now I have told it on video. So there's stuff to grieve. The other night I had been in touch with an old friend who's been really important to me for a long time, and after a little back and forth and not clear, we hadn't talked for 2 years, whether it was going to work for us to talk with each other, she confided to me that she had a therapy session that day and a lot was riding on it because she was in an awful lot of pain. And I park for the last 5 nights at a beach just basically straight east of here, Playa Vicente Fox. There's a bunch of videos up on YouTube about that. Gorgeous, gorgeous beach. And I was walking down there at dark, and I like to say that the power of the ocean and the waves tends to quiet your mind. It sure does me, and I think it does most anybody who allows it to. And you go deeper. And as I was walking in the darkness, it was getting dark, I really got in touch with how sad I was for her, because I know, like very few people know, how awful emotional pain can be. So I was crying, walking along, just feeling such enormous compassion for her and love for her. I was crying, and I made a 1-minute video, maybe an audio, because I was out of memory again. I made a 1-minute audio, crying into the audio about, oh, I love you so much, and I'm so sorry you're going through this. And she got a little concerned the next day that I was taking on her pain. That's a classic kind of psychological concern, is like therapists need to not take on the pain of their clients. But I don't. My beingness is rock solid. Nothing can touch it. And it allows me to go deep into emotion like grief. And I'm happy even as I'm doing it, because I know I'm releasing stuff that's going to make me even freer. And because it's a testimony of love for the person. If I'm grieving for somebody else like her, it's a measure of how much I love them. Pema Chodron is the Tibetan Buddhist follower of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche of Boulder, Colorado. Wrote a book called When Things Fall Apart. And I think it's in that book that she talks about Tonglen practice, their Tibetan Buddhist lineage. Tonglen is a meditation where you start by meditating on your own pain and bringing compassion to it. View it, don't just view it, feel it as fully as you can, and love yourself in the middle of that pain. And then you escalate it, you take it a step further. This is not for the faint of heart. You feel that pain for all your brothers and sisters in the world who are going through a similar pain. And that's a lot of pain. And it requires a spiritual practice and some real solidity to even consider that, because most people like to stay in their comfort zone and they avoid like crazy even feeling their own pain. But the beauty of it is that when you do that successfully, it so deeply unites you with your brothers and sisters who are suffering so much. And if you do it right, it doesn't continue. It doesn't drag along behind you. When you're done, you're done. Because the core principle of Buddhism is the first freedom is the freedom of where to focus your attention. So when you're done with that, you stop focusing on that and go back to the here and now. And that's what happened to me. By the time I was back to my car that night, I was really happy. And then the next day I grieved about my dog who got lost. Another round of that, grief works in rounds. And I saw a spectacular free dog on the beach, and it reminded me of how awesome my dog was running around the beaches, because that dog and I spent an awful lot of time on the beach together. So I grieved. It just got under my armor. I felt it, chose to feel it, cried, and was happier and lighter afterwards. That's the way it's meant to work. Part of the reason people get diagnosed by shrinks is they're carrying around so much trauma that has not been released. There's not enough support in our social structure to get it out, and the shrinks don't even value it, don't understand it. They look at the pain, and all they know how to do is to give it a name and prescribe some terrible drugs that they don't even know why it works. And my old shrink used to say, yeah, it's going to help maybe 5%. That's all you really can hope for. And I knew one psychiatrist who would take for a month any drug that he was about to prescribe. So he would know the side effects, because mostly they say, yeah, I guess there's side effects. Yeah, like you lose your capacity to feel. Yeah, and then you cannot release. The feelings just won't come. So they prevent healing. It's a little compressed form of my rant about that. I do have some leftover trauma about 30 years, those mistaken people, those fuckers. Okay.